Life as You Own It with Mark McDougall and Craig Miller.
Remember, you got questions, we've got answers. 800-492-4664. You may not take the time to educate yourself about the single largest investment and opportunity you have, that investment in the roof over your head in real estate.
We talk about your home, financing, making investments in real estate. We give you the facts, folks.
You know, it's just good old-fashioned horse sense that we like to talk about. And we also throw in some other horse stuff, too, just for fun.
We've got a couple friends in the studio today. I want to introduce Dan Lynch. Lynch Real Estate. How you doing, Dan?
Doing great.
All right.
Look forward to being here today.
Well, we appreciate you filling in. Actually, Dan's not technically filling in for anybody. He's a special guest because he's one of the top producing realtors in the Kansas City metro. Going to share with our first-time home buyers 5 tips, 5 things they need to be considering looking out for when they're going to make their first home purchase. And we've also got Nathan Carlisle. Give a shout-out to the fans, Nathan.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, he's a little shy. He's a little shy, ladies. Pay attention. He's a shy guy, but you got to watch out for Nathan. Okay, well, if you're tuning in for the first time, we appreciate it. We are now spanning the globe on iHeartRadio and 33 affiliates throughout the Midwest and Alabama and Ohio. So we encourage you, if you're driving through one of those cities or you're checking us out on iHeartRadio, please reach out to your local affiliate. Tell them that you want Life as You Own It in your market if it's not there yet. We want your feedback. Reach out to us, 800-492-4664, or go to the website, lifeasyouownit.com. If you've got questions, I bet you we've got some answers. They may be good ones, they may be bad ones, but they'll be straight from the heart. So we began our 3-part series about first-time home buyers, or for our first-time home buyers, just last week. And the recap of last week is, are you ready? We shared the 9 steps on the journey of buying your first home. So technically 9 steps probably doesn't qualify as a journey, but we're going to go with that as it is a journey to buy a first home. And I think of 9 steps as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 9 steps in a walk. Not really a journey, is it? But can we go, Nathan, you can authorize to go ahead and use that? Sounds good.
Yeah.
Because home ownership of mine is a journey.
Definitely.
Okay. We also shared some great calculators so you can do the math yourself as to whether renting is better than buying for you. Remember, garbage in, garbage out. It's all about putting in the right numbers, and these tools will help you make the right choice. Check them out at the website, lifeasyouownit.com. And you've also got a link to the podcast so you can hear all of the other great first-time homebuyer information from the first part of our 3-part series just last week. We've got some special guests, as I've mentioned, in the studio today, Realtor Dan Lynch, and today his partner in crime, Nathan Carlisle. Dan has been in the top 10 realtors in the greater metropolitan area of Kansas City for the last 6 years. Last 2 years, grossing over $50 million in sales each year. That means he has a full-time job selling real estate. Last year, he had also over 300 transactions. He's going to share with our listeners 5 important considerations when searching for that first home. If you're thinking of buying your first home and you've not saved enough for a large down payment, or maybe no down payment at all, Nathan Carlisle, certified mortgage planner with First Trust Mortgage, will tell you about a couple programs that require 0 down payment. That's right, 0. And also your low down payment option that is readily available with less restrictions than the first 2. If you're a first-time buyer in one of these markets, you just might, be able to get a great deal, but be careful. We've all heard about the falling knife. We've got the 5 worst markets for Q4 2013 in the United States. So might be an opportunity, then again, it might not. That's why you want to consult with your realtor and your financial advisor before you make a decision. And Dan, can a home be romantic?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, it can't be.
Well, you've got that in common.
We passed Valentine's Day, but yeah, it can be.
All right. Well, we've got 5 cities where a surprising number of listings seem to think so. So we're going to share that later in the hour. And remember, we've got your should you stay or should you go scenarios. Real live scenarios where you've emailed or called us with your questions. And yes, we are answering them on air. Remember, if you give us your name, we're going to use it unless you tell us otherwise. Got a lot of great questions that you're going to hear on air in the should you stay or should you go scenario. And what else? Average interest rates. We're going to share those with you so you know where they're trending, and it might give you an indication as to whether you're getting a good deal or not. So, Nathan, step up on the mic here. I'm going to get you on the hot seat just a little bit. go ahead and tell our listeners, and that means you got to move a little close. Step up to the mic means get your mouth a little bit closer to the mic. You don't talk as loud as me, so you're going to have to get close to the mic. So introduce yourself real quick. You're Nathan Carlisle. You're a certified mortgage planner. And what does a certified mortgage planner at First Trust do?
We consult with home buyers to make sure they get into the right loan program.
All right, good. A man of few words. And Dan, again, thanks for joining us. And we think someone that's selling $50 million in real estate per year and 360 transactions, you've probably dealt with just a few first-time home buyers, right?
Just a few.
How many would you say how long has your career spanned?
I've been doing this for 14 years now, so this is my 14th year, and
Okay.
We've certainly probably over half of the customers that I've dealt with have been first-time home buyers.
So whether it's 600, 700, or 1,000 first-time home buyers that you've helped them through this big decision.
Yes, absolutely. Love working with first-time home buyers. An opportunity to educate and to get them on the right path so that they're not just our customers today, but they're our customers in the future.
And you can tell Dan talks a lot, or he's also a football coach. Because you have a little bit of that football. Are you football? Have you been a coach?
Wrestling.
There you go. Do you still? He's got a little bit of that. He's got that. I'm still coaching, or I used to coach so much that my voice is almost shot. Do you still coach some?
No,
Okay.
not so much.
It's just
yeah.
So apparently you yelled occasionally.
Once in a while.
Don't worry, Nathan. You're not going to lose your voice anytime soon. I don't think. Nathan, you're not a yeller. Okay, so let's jump right into those average interest rates, folks, because remember, if you're in the middle of a transaction, whether it's a purchase or a refinance, you got to make sure you do the math. We recommend you utilize the break-even formula. If you're going to pay a point on that purchase or pay a bunch of fees on the purchase, identify how long it will take if you compare the no-cost or the no-point loan versus the one where you're paying $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And if your break-even period is longer than it should be for you to get ahead. In other words, it takes 7 years to now recoup the $4,000 in fees by a $30 difference a month savings, then it's probably not a good investment for you. So again, you can check this formula out at lifeasyouwantit.com. Do the math. So average interest rates on a 30-year fixed are 4.47, just under 4.5% on a $200,000. And for all these loans, this is a $200,000 loan amount. An 80% loan to value. That means you've got a minimum 20% equity, a minimum 760 credit score, and this is on a 30-year fixed. And you're also paying points, and I'll give that average amount, and fees. Closing costs can range anywhere from $2,000 on the low end up to $4,000, $5,000, or $6,000. You've got to be educated. You've got to look at the numbers. So national average on a 30-year fixed is just under 4.5%, charging just under 1 point. So actually, it's we'll call it 3/4 of a point. So 3/4 of a point on a $200,000 loan is $1,500 plus those closing costs. So 15-year, 3.62. So just under, we'll call it 3 5/8. And that is charging right at 3/4 of a point also. So $1,500 plus the extra fees that the lender may charge to do the transaction. And a 5/1 ARM is right at 3.5%. Charging 0.5%. Now, folks, remember, these are the national averages on a $200,000 with the very best credit score. So you've got to make sure that you do the math, do the break-even formula, and that rate offering that you're getting may sound great, may sound that it's an eighth lower than the other one, but if you don't do the math, you may end up paying a lot more than you planned on over the life of that loan. All right, folks, we're up on we're coming up against our first break. When we come back, we're going to not only probably have a should you stay or should you go segment, but we're also going to start getting into that information those first-time home buyers need to hear from our realtor guest, Dan Lynch. Stay tuned. Back in Life is Unit, I'm Mark McDougald, and I've got Nathan Carlisle and Dan Lynch with Lynch Real Estate. Okay, we're focused on you, the first-time home buyer. You, the parents and friends of first-time home buyers, so you can share this information. And any of you that are just interested in being a more sophisticated and savvy consumer the next time you buy a house, I think this is great information. So Dan, we've given a little bit of a background on you. You are a successful realtor in the Kansas City market, which those of you that may or may not know, we drop Kansas City occasionally because that's where we live. That's where we're from. The intergalactic headquarters of the Life as You Own It show are right here in the heartland. We're strategically positioned so we can distribute equally throughout the United States all the love that we have. You like that, don't you, Nathan?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. As we sometimes bring in professionals from this market, professionals on a national basis also, we're very selective. They've got to be people that have shown that not only do they have a high degree of success in their profession, but they also have a high value of advice that they're capable of giving. So, Dan, no pressure there, but that's why you're here today. So we're gonna jump right in. Oh, we're not gonna jump right in just yet. This is the should you stay or should you go segment. Remember, you send us your scenario. Give us how much you owe on your house, your current interest rate, what you believe the house is worth, and the term, and we will let you know if you should stay or go. Remember, you can even tell us about your love relationship. We'll tell you if you should move out of the house or move on down the road. All right, Taryn from Columbus, Ohio emailed the following question. I'm unfortunately in the middle of a divorce, and I'm trying to decide if I keep the house and take over the mortgage or if I leave it to my ex. It is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and I love the house, but so does my soon-to-be ex. Also, we owe $160,000 on it and agree that it's probably what it would sell for. Just caught your show for the first time last week, and it sounds like you guys really care. Thanks for that. All right, she threw in a nice comment there then. Thank you very much, Taryn, for that. I am sorry that you were going through a difficult life transition like this. In the spirit of should you stay or should you go, quick answers, I'm going to tell you, you should go. Now, I'm not negotiating on your behalf unless you are the person that is sending me your question and you are in this scenario. So, go. The house is worth $160. That means if you sell it for $160, you're going to pay real estate commissions. The chance that if you agree it's worth $160, that ultimately sells for that is probably slim. So, based upon the limited information I have, go. Make sense, Nathan?
Perfect.
Any questions? All right. Remember, folks, if you've got a scenario, run it by us. We will give you a quick answer, and we'll always tell you, consult your local real estate professional, consult a certified mortgage planner, because there is much more to the story. But in the short answer, move on down the road. Taryn, good luck to you. Okay. All right, Dan, you ready? We want to share. You were kind enough to put together your kind of top 5 suggestions that you have for first-time home buyers. So let's move on. Let's move on with those.
Okay.
Number 1.
Okay, one of the things that's important, probably the first thing, is you need to pick the area that you want to live in. And once you pick the area, then you can establish what loan programs are available in that area. And you can get with your realtor or your loan officer. And by the way, you should get approved. So when you're in that process. So get with the loan officer and the realtor, and they'll tell you the programs. Like if you're in the Kansas City, Kansas area, the program you'll probably use is a 3.5% FHA program. Or you can use other programs there too, but there's not a 100% program there other than a VA. But if you come outside of the Kansas City area and go on, like for instance, in an area west of 7 Highway, you'll be able to do a 100% rural program, which allows you to no money down and basically get into the house for closing costs. And it works out to be a wonderful program. So it just depends. So once you establish the area that you want to be in, then you can get loan programs that will work for that particular area. So
okay. All right.
one.
So number 1 is connect with a realtor and identify kind of what the area you're looking in, and that realtor can also talk to the overview of those programs that may be available to you. So how does one find that realtor, Dan? What's the best way to find a good realtor?
You can do your searches on the internet. That's probably the number one way folks do it. And sometimes you drive through the area and you see the dominant realtor in the area. A lot of times that's how people pick the realtor, is they want somebody that's active in the market, someone that's knowledgeable. And though the internet, you can kind of get people through Zillow, you can get people through Trulia. It's not necessarily somebody that's knowledgeable in the area. So ask your friends and your neighbors, and ask your loan officers. They'll all know who's out there selling real estate and who does it for, who does it part-time and who does it full-time. And that makes a big difference. You want somebody that's on your side, trying to help you in this largest investment that you make in your life. It's the biggest economic decision, so you want to make sure that you're getting somebody that is going to lead you in the right direction.
And whenever you mentioned, the first thing you said is get connected with a realtor, and we kind of touched on that also, but in getting connected with them, how important is it to work with someone that knows the market you're looking in? So if I'm looking in Columbus, Ohio, or I'm looking in a suburb that's 60 miles south of Columbus, Ohio, how important is it to find a realtor in one of those marketplaces?
If you have a realtor, for instance, if you're out in the Leavenworth County area, if you have a realtor that's unfamiliar with that, you may miss some of the loan programs that are available to you. And again, you can have a good loan officer and they may bridge that gap some, but the realtor makes a big difference in helping you pick the right loan program for you. And between you and the loan officer, you can get that. And if you get somebody that's out of the area, they just don't have that knowledge. So,
Right. And ideally, they help find the right house.
Yeah.
Not that you're saying right loan program. I don't know if you meant house, but
Yeah, right house.
yeah.
And there's more to that as far as picking the right house. You know, once you define the area that you want to be in, I always recommend that folks drive around in the area and not just drive around during, Saturday morning, drive around Thursday night and find out what the area is really like. There can be big differences. I mean, if it's important for you to have kids out playing in the street, then, you may want to drive there after school hours and find out, what's going on in that neighborhood. If that's something that's not important to you, then obviously, if you see that, you don't want to be in that area. So
All right.
anyway, I think it's very important.
Okay, so it sounds like another good one is, as you mentioned, is like you just said, drive through the neighborhoods you're considering at different times of day. That allows you to kind of see if the lifestyle works for you. So that's
Yes.
it. Sounds like a good one.
True, and get knowledgeable. We're going to give another one here. Get knowledgeable about the community. Find out if the community offers the types of things that you're looking for. That could be schools, it could be churches, there's a lot of different things that, it could be just lifestyle. You may want a lifestyle that's more disconnected from the world and, a Mayberry type town. And to get that, you're going to have to drive around to do it. So.
Okay. So what about wants versus needs? What do you recommend there as far as should you make a list, or is that an important part for a first-time home buyer?
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, people, if you tend to, if you're looking for a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, get on the internet, work with your realtor, have them set up a search for you for the area so that you can see the product that's available in the area. And when you determine basically you want a 4-bedroom, see if that's within your price range in that community, and if you're going to have to buy old or you buy new, see what that community has to offer you.
Okay, and one of the components that you mentioned in the first one we kind of blended together was you said get connected with the realtor, and then you also mentioned the loan officer. Do you recommend getting pre-approved early in the game, after they've met with a realtor? What's that look like?
I absolutely recommend getting pre-approved, knowing what you can do. Find a loan officer, and usually the agent can help direct you in that way. And just ask the agent, and usually they'll give you a loan officer that knows the area.
All right. Back with more when we return. Life
Right
as you
on,
own it. McDougall, this is Life as you own it. Thanks for hanging out with us. And remember, this is the middle segment of our 3-part series on first-time home buyers. Remember, any information you hear today, you can also podcast. You can go to iHeartRadio, or you can go to our website, lifeasyouownit.com, and you can just get the nuggets of wisdom right there. Many of the tools we have, there are links to. And we want your feedback. Reach out to us, 800-492-4664, or shoot us a question, questions at lifeasyouownit.com. We're here for you, okay? We are working through some tips on, in no particular order, with Dan Lynch here to make sure you've got the information you need to be armed and dangerous on this big first investment, or the biggest investment you'll likely make in your life. So Dan, let's kind of recap the ones you've discussed, and then add any new ones that you think might be important for our listeners.
Okay. I think one of the biggest things is, again, get connected with the local realtor that's in the area that you want to be in. And because they're going to know things that are specific to the area, whether it be loan programs, whether it be schools, what have you. Get pre-approved. Do that. You can do that by asking the realtor, and a lot of times that's gonna work the best because they're gonna end up sending you somebody that knows the loan programs in the area, and then hone in on the things that you must have and the things that you're willing to forego. So if you're looking for granite countertops, then or you can forego that if that's what you're after. So that area may allow that, may not, may be too pricey for you.
Hey Dan, I'm sorry, do you sometimes have, say, first-time home buyers that come and they give you their list of things they want, and then you go, okay, so that's about a $350,000 house, and you're pre-approved for 180. Does that happen?
It does, yeah. And what we end up doing is we pull up the inventory that's in the area and we show them what's available. And sometimes just by taking them around and showing them 3, 4, 5, 6 houses, basically they can get an idea then and a feel for the area.
Okay, good.
And I tell people to drive through neighborhoods that they're considering at different times of the day so that they can see how those neighborhoods are, whether in the morning or whether in the evenings. So if that's lifestyle is important to them, they can get that out of the neighborhood. And I tell them to also check the schools, student-to-teacher ratios. They can get that information by. Sometimes a realtor can direct them to the places where that information is. They can go visit the school, do a day there, and speak with the administrators there, and they'll give them a lot of information in regards to how the school, fares nationally, maybe or locally, and so anyway, those are things that I recommend that folks do when they're checking out where they want to live. And again, it's the most important investment they make in their lives. So these are things that they definitely want to be considering.
Good information. So Dan, when you've got a first-time home buyer and they're out looking and they're considering making that first offer, kind of describe real quickly. This is bonus information. How you guide them on what their expectation should be about that offer. So how do you prepare them expectation-wise when they make that first offer?
The first thing that we do is we look at the comparables that are in the area so that I can educate them as to what similar homes have sold for so that they don't have unrealistic expectations about what this house is going to sell for. If something's priced at $200,000, somebody's not going to come off of it most of the time $30,000. So they got to be realistic with that. And if a similar home sold for $195,000, most likely that's where they're going to end up getting the house is $195,000. If they end up working in closing costs, that's a bonus. And closing costs could be anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 on a transaction in the areas that we're in.
Now, understanding that each market's a little different as to what they can negotiate in closing costs, et cetera, what are some general tips you may have about how they can, some little maybe insider tips to negotiate a little better deal, or maybe get some concessions from the seller that maybe some people don't consider?
There are some people that, some sellers are completely against closing costs and won't pay them. And you can really get a feel for that sometimes by talking to if there's another agent involved, by talking to the other agent. And sometimes they're willing to pay them, sometimes they aren't. And that the agent that you're working with can really help you work through that by gathering some information from the seller, whether it be through another agent, if there's another agent on the other side, or by just knowing a little bit more about that seller. So,
all right, okay. There's a little bit of music. I think that's just so we can. Oh, that is the warm up, letting us know that another "Should You Stay or Should You Go" segment is right around the corner, I guess. Okay, so Kristen from Minneapolis, Minnesota. My husband and I have a second mortgage line of credit with a zero balance at Prime +1. We just recently paid it off and don't anticipate needing to use it again. But since the rate is so low, we wondered if we should keep it. If we should keep it open just in case. It's $250 a year to keep it open. So again, Kristen has no current need for it, has a Prime +1 HELOC, and it's $250 a year to keep it open. Nathan, should she keep it open? Should she stay or should she go?
I'd keep it open, I'd stay.
Oh, Nathan, and that is the wrong answer. But I'm going to let you tell me why you are going to disagree with the host of the show.
I would think for security purposes, for the conservative aspect of it, keep it open. It's easy. You have it open, so if you need it, it's easy access to the money. If something happens, you close it. Something happens, you need the money, then you can't get to it. So if somebody gets laid off,
Okay, I can't argue with that. So we're gonna have a should you go or should you stay scenario. Just like Craig and I sometimes disagree on these, I'm gonna say I can't argue with that logic. That's good, but I'm gonna say go because you've told me that you don't think you'll need it, which means you don't think you need the insurance policy. And Prime Plus One is a constant, and you can get no cost second mortgages at any time as long as you're employed, like Nathan points out. So we're to draw. This is Life as You Own It. Stay tuned.
We're
Back
back.
with Life as You Own It. Okay, if you're thinking of buying your first home and you've not saved enough money for a large down payment or maybe any down payment, Nathan Carlisle is going to give you the goods. Nathan, let's talk about those low down or no down options that are available to our listeners. So, number one,
FHA.
FHA would be a low down option.
It would be a low down option that requires 3.5% down.
Okay, and what about the? Is it available in any market?
Yes, it's available in any market. It does have one caveat where the max loan amount is $270,050.
Depending on the market, though.
Depending on the
Right.
market.
So there's some markets where you've got a high cost areas, which can be California, some in New York, where you can go higher, and also multifamily ones. Right. So not
Right.
that part I know. What are some of the pros and cons of that program?
A con would be it's a little bit higher cost loan, so
Okay.
it has upfront mortgage insurance.
Then if you got a down payment.
Then
Yeah.
if you've got a down
Okay.
payment, and the monthly mortgage insurance is a little bit higher cost and does not cancel
Okay.
as of about a year ago.
What are some of the advantages?
Your credit is not as much as a determiner as for the interest rate. So interest rate is pretty much set as far as qualifying, not necessarily gauged on credit scores.
Okay. So you've got you can get and credit scores are a little bit lower than a conforming loan, I'm guessing.
Correct.
They go deep. Okay. All right. What other options for a low or no down payment program for our listeners?
VA loan,
Okay.
which is for veterans, and
Right.
there's a variety of different ways that a veteran can qualify for it. So just want to contact the Department of Veteran Affairs and see if you can see if you've got eligibility. You want a VA eligibility cert.
Okay. So and obviously speak to your mortgage planner. First is, are you a veteran? The second would be, I think, is determine what confirm your eligibility.
Correct.
But if you're a veteran, you're honorably discharged, you're eligible. It's just now the caveats are, well, you're looking at me like no.
Well, it's 4 years active duty, and then it's if you're reserves, it's 6 years, and then if you go overseas, it's 90 days overseas. Is I believe most of the.
Which would be most, I guess those are the caveat portions of it.
Yeah.
But generally, if you're honorably discharged, you're going to have served one of those tours. You're going to have done those. But that's good. He's the details guy. So what are some of the pros and cons of the VA loan?
VA loans are great. They do not have monthly mortgage insurance, so that's a great aspect of that loan. It also has upfront mortgage insurance, which can be a little bit higher cost, especially as you use it more than once. But one way out of the monthly mortgage or the upfront mortgage insurance is to have some type of disability from your service in the military. So it can be as little as 10% hearing loss is one of the most common ones that I see.
Okay. So and that's going to be reflected on that portion of disability is going to be reflected on your certificate of eligibility.
They do put
That'll
it on
show.
there now.
Yeah. Okay. And cons of the VA loan, other than that upfront MI, or not the upfront MI, but the VA funding fee.
The VA funding fee is one of the main drawbacks. It also, as far as credit goes, it's a little bit more forgiving. So
Okay.
if you qualify, you pretty much get a similar rate as somebody that has excellent credit versus somebody that has a little bit of challenges. So that's a good aspect to it. There's not a tremendous amount of drawbacks to the VA loan, really.
Okay. The one is you got to serve your country, which we don't think that's a drawback, but it is a challenge for some. So, folks, you know what that music means? It means it's time for our last and final Should You Stay or Should You Go segment. And let me find that Should You Stay or Should You Go segment. Okay, we have Barry, emailed from Chesterfield, Missouri. I have a jumbo loan at 5 1/4 and owe $600,000 on my house that is worth around $1 million. It was the best deal I could find when I bought the house 2 years ago. I know I can get a lower rate, but don't want to pay or roll a bunch of fees into the loan. I plan to keep the house for about 5 years, give or take. Is it worth it to refi? Nathan, should he stay or should he go? 5.25.
I was reading the notes on the paper, not listening to what you said.
All right, well, at least you're honest. All right, he needs to go. His current interest rate's 5.25. You can get a lower interest rate on that on a 30-year jumbo, and you can have it where they will pay your closing costs. So a no-cost 30-year jumbo, if your credit is excellent on on what you gave us, would be lower than 5.25. Or if you're going to be in the house 5 to 7 years, you may even look at an ARM. But you need to go. Speak with a certified mortgage planner and refi that deal with no cost and save you some money. Okay, Nathan, jumping back. What's the next option for our listeners that have a low or no down payment?
USDA loan is a good option. It's a 100% loan available in certain areas. So like Dan had mentioned before, typically as far as qualifying for eligible areas, a good rule of thumb is 10,000 population or less. So
Okay.
they go off the census report. So if it's in, then it's in until the next.
You can go to the USDA website, find information to include the maps that'll show if your area is eligible.
Right.
And if it is, there's some exceptions to that. So you really got to get on the map and look and see what are some of the benefits of that program and some of the restrictions of it.
The benefit to the program, it has reduced mortgage insurance, so it's about a third of what FHA's mortgage insurance is monthly.
Right.
The drawback is it does also have an upfront premium that is comparable to FHA. So if you have the ability to do a USDA loan, you probably wouldn't want to do FHA. It is a lower cost loan versus FHA.
Right. What are some of the limitations? You said they have certain markets, so generally speaking, rural markets or smaller communities. Also, any other limitations?
Income limits.
Okay. So you've got certain limitations on income that you can earn, and that means maximums, not minimums. We have minimums to qualify, maximums, or you're ineligible for that no down payment program. And again, it's 100% home loan. So a great program if you qualify for it. We're going to give a little caveat real quickly that we believe you should save for a down payment. We believe that you should have 6 to 12 months reserves. If you're going to do a 100% down loan, you still need those reserves to be able to afford to stay in that house if something bad happens in life. When we come back, we've got a little more information as we're getting ready to put a bow on this show, Life as You Own It. Stay tuned. This is the last segment of Life as You Own It. We are very appreciative to have some guests fill the shoes of Craig. Since Craig's not here, I'm going to say that they didn't only fill the shoes, they split the shoes out. When you see the little golden baby shoes that you usually give as a gift, his are about that size. Just kidding. Thanks again for joining us, Dan and Nathan. You guys have done tremendous work today, and I'm certain that our listeners will benefit from your wisdom. And I also got a last few bits of information I want to share with the listening audience. And the first one is, we talked about those potential opportunities in those 5 markets that as of Q4 2013 were the worst. Now, nationally, home values rose 10.1% in the fourth quarter of 2013 compared with the same period of 2012. So year over year, up 10.1%, and that's what we like to see, and that's the trend that we've seen continue thus far in 2014. But these cities had a downward trend year over year, and you can look at that 2 ways. Either watch out, it's going to continue to drop, or if you've got enough market intel and you understand, you're working with a real estate professional that knows the trends, knows what's going on in the market, they may advise you that it's a perfect time to jump in close to the bottom. We don't know the bottom of a market until we look in the rearview mirror. So if it may be opportunity, I'm an optimist, so I say probably opportunity in some of these markets. Number 1 on the list is Elmira, New York. Average home price is median home price $99,500, down at 11.6 year over year. Champaign, Urbana. Got to think there might be some opportunities for real estate investors there. In a big college town, down 11% year over year. Fort Wayne, Indiana, down 9.5% year over year. Springfield, Illinois. Springfield's a nice town. Been there a few times. Nice little town. Average home price $105,000, down 9%. And Fayetteville, North Carolina, down 8.8% year over year. Those are some big drops in the face of a 10.1% national rise. Now, I don't know the details or the reasons to why those are trending, but I do say there's possibly opportunity for you if you're a first-time home buyer or a real estate investor. And Dan, we talked about this, I think, at the beginning of the show, but can a home be romantic? And you said yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, if you're listing your home in one of these 5 cities, they're particularly romantic. In Orange County, California, almost 2% of the listings use the word romantic. 2% of the listings use the word romantic, followed by Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, and then Tucson. No shock that in California, movie land, Hollywood, that they throw in romantic as a descriptor for homes. But those are the by listing, percentage of listings, those were the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, top 5 that use the word romantic. Okay, well, we're down to the end, folks. We hope that you've enjoyed this installment of Life as You Own It. We're very pleased to have Nathan. Nathan, any shout out you want to give to any of your friends? You know any friends?
I know a couple out there.
Any couple
but,
friends? Any
how's it
friends?
going?
All right.
I won't name drop on anybody.
Okay, well, Nathan, you've been a great guest and you've been a good sport. Appreciate you putting up with me, giving you a hard time, and we even went head to head on a should you stay or should you go scenario. So thanks a bunch for that. And Dan, any of your clients, friends, relatives that you want to give a holler out to?
Actually, I'm just thinking that I got a new word for all my listings in 2014. Romantic. I'm going to start putting it in my listings.
Good.
So, romantic getaway.
The consummate professional, Dan Lynch. We appreciate you sharing some time with us today. Thanks so much for being on the show and being a friend of Life as You Own It. Okay, folks, remember, this is the middle segment of our three-part series on first-time home buying, what the steps are you need to take, some good advice. And next week, we are going to share with you the tips on how to negotiate that very first contract. How to get not just get your best deal, but kind of walk you through what it looks like in that process. Dan shared a little bit of it, but we'll go into more detail next week. That and so much more. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for being a friend of the show. And remember to stay classy.